There are years, and then there's the year 1962. An appreciation now from Bill Flanagan of MTV.
1962 was 50 years ago, which seems about right if you think of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Reports from Western diplomats based in Havana have filtered back to this country, reportedly locating the main missile sites.
John Glenn orbiting the Earth.
This is Mercury Control at T-minus 9 minutes and 45 seconds. All systems are go.
And James Meredith desegregating Ole Miss.
The town of Oxford is an armed camp, following riots that accompanied the registration of the first Negro in the university's 118-year history.
Those are great events that have been in the history books for decades. What's hard to believe is how many of the cultural institutions that kicked off in 1962 are still with us today.
Love me do.
1962 was the year of the Beatles, Bob Dylan,
Let's go surfing now, everybody's learning.
and the Beach Boys released their first records. 1962 was the year of the first Walmart and the first Kmart. It was the year the Rolling Stones played their first shows, that Warhol painted his Campbell's soup can, and that Johnny Carson took over The Tonight Show.
Here's Johnny!
Johnny's gone, but every late-night talk show host is still copying his format and his style. Rachel Carson's Silent Spring was published in '62, the book that kicked off the modern environmental movement.
They should not be called insecticides, but biocides.
You know who else premiered in 1962? James Bond, 007. Talk about durable. Bond has outlasted the Soviet Union, and he's still beating up bad guys and sipping martinis.
Vodka martini. Shaken and stirred. Do I look like I give a damn?
Think about how long 50 years is. Can you imagine that in the year 2062, people will still be watching The Voice, buying Bruno Mars records, and going to the movies to watch the latest installment of The Hunger Games? Stranger things have happened. Here's one. 1962 was the year Stan Lee and Steve Ditko launched Spider-Man. Now, The Wall Crawler is a Broadway musical, a big-budget movie series, and a theme park ride. I didn't buy Spider-Man #1 because I thought he looked weird. My friend Eric Eliason did, and by the time I realized my mistake, he refused to sell me his copy, even when I offered him a whole $1 for it, 8.5 times the cover price. Eric, wherever you are, I hope you held on to that comic book.
I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart.
1962 was also the year the Supreme Court banned prayer in public schools.
Our Father, who art in heaven.
All things considered, I think it was a good idea. I always felt bad for the Jewish kids when we said the Our Father, and there was a weird tension after Deliver Us from Evil when the Catholic kids would say Amen, while the Protestant kids kept going with the kingdom.
The power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
It raised a lot of theological issues with which 7-year-olds were unprepared to deal. Not that the Supreme Court ruling actually ended prayer in schools. Speaking for myself, I continued to pray for the remainder of my school years, whenever there was a test in biology, algebra, trigonometry, or on the periodic table. The only thing the Supreme Court stopped was praying out loud. Those of us who were kids in 1962 have had James Bond, Spider-Man, Bob Dylan, and the Rolling Stones as lifelong companions. They lasted so long because nobody else was ever able to knock them off. As was once said of 007, nobody did it better.